Welcome to the Uncut with X. So here we talk about things that are exciting, than things that have happened. Of course, they have to be exciting for us to talk about them, mostly controversial things. So one thing that has been controversial for some time was the femicide that has been happening. So today I'll take a little bit of a different direction. I normally do talk about the controversial things, but one thing caught my attention during this entire thing. So last week, by the time I'm recording this, women groups and a lot of people came out to do a protest about the femicide that happened. So, or rather on the femicide, they did an entire protest. And one notable thing that caught my attention again was entire protest. And one notable thing that caught my attention again was the fact that people booed at the women rep. So I've always been against that women rep position simply because it does not make sense logically. So the people who drafted the constitution had envisioned that by doing this, it would help increase increase people representation in parliament, or rather in leadership, because at that time there weren't a lot of females in this position. So one thing they did was to come up with the women rep position and also the two-third gender rule. So two-third gender rule goes without saying that a certain gender should not exceed two-third or be less than a third, either a third or two-third gender rule. So one should not exceed the other. And for the longest time, even after implementation of this rule, Parliament has always been male-dominated. Well, is it wrong for Parliament to be male-dominated? It's completely not, if the people made it male-dominated. Because the entire idea of democracy is simply the people's voice should be reflected on in leadership and in completely everything. People's voices should be respected. And what the people want, maybe at this time and generation, is male leaders. Is it a bad thing? It's completely not. But I'm going to say why the women rep position is quite useless, because a lot of money is put to fund these positions. Like for the woman rep, a lot of money is put to fund this position, and their sole purpose is to represent women. But also in the National Assembly, they are more of any legislator. So they're supposed to create laws. So why they created 47 women to do this is completely crazy, because you have 47 women from different counties. So I'm assuming they thought that these 47 women have different ideologies, or 47 women are going through different things. So they decided to make 47 position. But that's not the point. The point is she was booed. Why was she booed? Because the females themselves have discovered that this position is useless. It's completely useless. Whatever has been happening, there's no law created. Look at rape, which is the most, the most oddest or ugliest crime. How is it that it's more easier for a rapist to come out of prison because the sentence is quite shorter than someone who's found in possession of bang, who is given a lifetime sentence? Like, how is it even possible? So they are there in parliament, yes, but what have they done that has, made things more better in terms of legislation? There's nothing that they have done. They simply get to those positions, and it's mostly these two slay queens getting into those positions. And after that, they're given this fund, which they don't really do anything about it. So I felt good that they were booed. I felt really good that they were booed. Another booing that happened that caught my attention last week was the president's booing. So on 26th of January, they did the announcement of the housing levy case that was on court. So at first, the government, or rather petitioners, took it to court, and it was nullified by the High Court. Then they later on took it to the Court of Appeal. Now the government took it back to the Court of Appeal, since you can appeal a judgment in the Court of Appeal. So they took it to the Court of Appeal, and it was strongly opposed. It was strongly opposed on the 26th of January by the Court of Appeal. And the president was in Meru at that time. So he was speaking to some people and trying to tell them how good of a project this housing levy thing is. And everyone wasn't agreeing with him. So people started booing him. They also did that later on in Nakuru. So people have seen that, that these leaders are lying, and they are completely not going to let them go away when they lie, or they don't do anything, they don't perform. So people are not letting them go away without it, because they have discovered that these leaders are lying. So about the housing levy, I talked about it even on the last episode of how the housing levy is a useless project. We did an episode with Bryson, episode 11. We talked about how useless it is. My thinking is the reason why they're collecting this amount X is simply not to build good houses for people. They know. I don't think they're that stupid to think that that's the problem at hand. They're not out of touch with reality. They completely know that there are other things that they should prioritize, but they're acting stupid, trying to call it, all sorts of names, but they know what they're completely trying to do. What they're doing is they want to collect a lot of revenue. That's why they're proposing things like NHIF, increment that might look good, because who wouldn't want low income earners to be given to pay less and high income earners to pay more? But in hindsight, they just want to collect revenue. We know that most hospitals at the moment are not even accepting NHIF, simply because the money that they're supposed to be given isn't given. So they're trying to even call hospitals corrupt. They're trying to say that most hospitals are faking the medical records just to get that's just to get a lot of money from the NHIF. But it's completely not the truth. What they want is they want to collect this amount of revenue, and they're not collecting this amount of revenue to better things. That's not what they want to do. They want to collect more revenue for who knows what. Probably steal it, probably pay the debt that's there. So they are trying all these types of way, even for the housing levy. So let's look at how the housing levy is. So for the housing levy, they proposed a contribution that's supposed to be contributed. Is it okay? So they proposed a specific contribution, which is 1.5%. At first, they had put it at 3% to be a tax. Now they changed it into be a levy. So a levy is just simply a fancy word for tax, because you're not getting the money back at the end of the day. So the money goes away. So it's a housing levy. So this 1.5 that's being collected, it's supposed to go to a specific fund, Fund X. So this housing fund is supposed to entice investors to come in and kickstart the project. So at the bigger picture, this project is supposed to be run by the private sector, which are the investors. So the government is simply just the face. So the hindsight of this project, it's supposed to be run by investors. Why not just let it why not just let it be the way it is? Because currently the private sector is running the real estate industry. Why not let it be the way it is? So they're creating all these projects that might look enticing to the eye. Of course, Kenyans are not finding them enticing at all, but they might look enticing. But the bigger picture is to collect a lot of revenue. Because for most countries that are in a situation like we are right now, countries that are doing bad, what happens is they usually increase taxes, the income tax. Since our government is more based on political and lies, what they want to do is they want to indirectly increase the amount they are collecting by coming up with this fancy project. So there's one for the housing levy, there's the NHIF, there's the increment of NSSF. We all know the NSSF fund isn't there. Right now at the moment, there's no money that's just there seated for the NSSF. That money isn't there. So they're just trying to collect a lot of revenue. Of course, they're lying to you that you need a nice, these projects look nice. Don't get me wrong. If you look at them, they really look nice. I mean, who wouldn't want a good healthcare? Who wouldn't want a good house? Who wouldn't want a nice retirement benefit? But are they really nice? Is it nice for you to get taxed amount X and never get a house simply because you have to buy it? Is it right for you to be being deducted amount X for as your insurance cover? But at the end of the day, hospitals are not accepting this insurance cover. Is it really good? It's not completely good. They're just looking for avenues to try and collect more revenue. Whatever they're going to do with it, we totally don't know until now what they're going to do with it, because they're not paying back the loans as we had imagined. Most of the loans are just paid by, of course, our income, but mostly most of the loans are paid by other loans. So recently he took another loan from the IMF. He took a couple of loans. You can't even keep track of them at this time. You can't keep track of how many loans he has taken. And all this is simply just to pay back other loans. Anyone who understands how finance works will tell you, even at a personal level, you cannot take loans to pay other loans. It doesn't work that way. If we are in a position where we cannot manage ourselves, this is how we are supposed to act. Are they spending less? No, they're not spending less. He's ever on trips. The president is ever on trips. The MPs are ever on trips, which are words I usually say. They are ever on trips. They're ever spending. The money they spend is completely crazy. And now at the same time, we have all these loans. Does he really want to pay all these loans? No, he doesn't. This is why he's taking other loans to pay the existing ones. Simply because the thing is, usually, you know how our loan never goes down, it always goes up, and we keep on paying it in courts. The thing is, these guys usually take loans to pay loans. That's why you just keep on seeing the loan increase with time, and yet we are paying it in courts. That's what they do. They take loans to pay loans. So we are in this debt cycle that, we can't exit, since we are financing our finance bill with loans. So we are in this debt cycle that cannot stop. Are they implementing the proper economic strategies to try and, or policies to try and solve this? They're completely not. So it's complete, total chaos. So another thing that he mentioned, since currently the president is now trying to get away and trying to ignore the court orders. So on 26th also, the Court of Appeal also, I'm not sure which court, but the court found it unconstitutional for our policemen and women to go to Haiti. So they had proposed our police to go to Haiti. So this is one of the recommendations that the court gave. Before I go to the story of Haiti, one of the recommendations the court gave to our government is there are two options for the government to be allowed to send policemen outside the country. One of them is through parliament, which they don't want to follow because there's a lot of barriers in terms of law that will limit them from getting that. The other one is when a country requests for help from us. Officially, they haven't really requested for help. Yes, he says they're asking for help, but officially the country hasn't asked for help. And even if it was asking for help, who would ask for help? I mean, the so-called Haiti gangs killed their president. There is no other president that's there. The guy who's there is just acting as president of a country that does not exist. But let me go slow and explain how this Haiti thing came up to be. So Haiti was one of those countries that was majorly slaves being transferred. You know the way Jamaica is, like it was just countries that slaves were being uh, taken from Africa and put there, since slave trade was the ill thing back then. So Haiti was one of those countries. But after some time, a rebellion grew and fought against the existing ruler, which is France, which was France at that time, or probably is. So their colonizer was France, and they fought against them. And at some point, they came to an agreement to end the war. So they had to pay reparations to the France. That's the most weirdest reparations I've had. So they had to buy their own freedom from the France. So they were given a specific amount X to pay to France. So they agreed, whoever the leader of the rebellion was agreed to that, and they stopped the war. But whatever Haiti was earning as income, most of it went to the France government, just like it's happening here right now. Most of the money they were getting as income, that was back then. It went to the France government, which is a completely odd situation. And the France government suggested this stupid thing that most West countries suggest. So they suggested that Haiti takes a loan from them and pays them their money back, because the money they were supposed to pay this amount of money in a specific period. So they took a loan and from France and paid it to France. So the money never moved. And they were in debt for the longest time. And all that instability with having a lot of debts, gangs started to arise because nothing was working in the country. So there was a lot of gangs which arose from that. And they were mostly fighting against now the government. And fast forward to now, these gangs that were formed back then grew and became now the big gangs that are in Haiti. So why are we being sent there? So we are being sent there to try and make things better, in quotes. Are we really nice to go there willingly to try and make things better? No, we are not. So the truth of the matter is, when the president was in New York, he was asked by the president of United States, Biden, to go to Haiti, and some funds will be given to them. 100 million will be given to them, so that as a support for them to go to this country, because we are unable to go in our own whatever budget. So 100 million is supposed to be given, $100 million for us to go there. And that's why he's pushing for it to happen, since he knows he's going to benefit from it. But are we really going to benefit from it as a country? We are totally not going to benefit from it. Why is the United States not taking their troops, their armed, trained, well-equipped troops there? Because they simply know that they are in election period right now. We all know what happened in Afghanistan for 20 years. America invaded it and got nothing out of it. A lot of their men, around 6,000, died in the period of 20 years, and nothing was achieved from that. So they don't want to get in the wrong, they don't want to be on the bad side with the people of America. That entire thing is quite unpopular to everyone, Democrats and Republicans. No one agrees with America now invading another country. So it's easier for them to use another puppet, or to use another proxy to do their dirty work. And we apparently are the puppets that are supposedly supposed to do the dirty work. So we are supposed to go there, and there is no interest whatsoever that's there for us. We are literally going to die for nothing. I mean, there's nothing we are going to do there. Do the people want us there? They totally don't. Even the time when the United States was going to invade Afghan and try and make it a nation, the Afghanistans never wanted the United States to come into their country. No one wants that. The Haiti people don't want that. Of course, their leaders who are, backed by the West, their so-called leaders will want that. The few leaders. But when it narrows down to the people on the ground, they don't want to help them with food, since most of the people are in object poverty. They don't want to help them with resources. They just want to take over this country for their own interests. Well, there are, we there are the pawns in the war. We are just being used. Look at our own situation. We are currently experiencing banditry in Baringo and most of those sides. We are currently experiencing banditry unequal to what is happening in Haiti, just unequal, and nothing is being done to deal with that. Nothing is done to deal with that. And the efforts that they have done to try and deal with that have been aimless. So we ourselves, we aren't in a position to help. We actually need that help, because now they've sent in the army, but you can feel they're still struggling till date. Since last year, nothing has been really, really, really done. The progress isn't there. Once in a while, we hear on the news that people are being killed to an extent where the news does not even report it again. It doesn't even report the killings that happen in Baringo and all those sides that are have banditry. So we are in a situation where our country isn't doing well financially. We already have our own banditry, so we are not in a good position to actually go and help other people. We are in a position to stay here and build our country, but that's not what they want. If you think what they want is to benefit the country, then you're basically wrong. That's never what they want. Whenever they come up with a project and you think that they want to benefit the people, that's where you go wrong. The aim is usually to benefit themselves. All these things that they're doing is just for the bigger picture of them benefiting themselves, because it does not logically even make sense. So he's trying to ignore all these court orders that were there. And the only arm that's defending us right now is the judiciary. Once we lose the judiciary, that's it. But if a simple court order by the judiciary cannot be followed, then it means the country might as well go to chaos. Because if we are not governed by the rule of law, and we do not allow ourselves to obey the judiciary and the orders given by the courts, then we'll completely go to chaos. Because these rules are there to govern us. They're not there for us to choose which one is right or wrong. They're there to completely govern us. So all these things that have been happening, that I've talked about, the housing levy, the mission to Haiti, and the NHIF, NSSF, they're all meant for people's interests. If you try and even reason how they flow and how they work, you'd simply see that it's not majorly to help the people, but it's majorly to help few individuals in power. And if we do not wake up, yeah, we are bound to go down. Yeah.